Okay, so our last story is going to be ghost boats of the river, and specifically steamboats. Now, I'd love to say ghost boats of the Mississippi because that has kind of a cool tone to it, but they weren't on the Mississippi, so I can't say that. I mean, you know how big I am on getting my facts right. These are actually, both of these boat stories are in Alabama, and both of these ghost stories I got from the National Directory of Haunted Places. I always like plugging that book. I think it's a great book. I don't own it, I didn't write it, anything like that. If you use the affiliate link below, I'll get a little kickback, but, you know, I get nothing. I'm not sponsored by them at all. So we're going to look at some ghost boats. We're going to look at boats that are ghosts, or boats that had ghosts on them. Or, yeah, that's pretty much it. So we're going to Alabama. And down in Alabama, there's a place called the Tombigbee River. Tombigbee. I wonder if that was a guy named Tom. I wonder if that's Native American. Or if there was actually a guy there named Tombigbee. I don't know. Maybe his name was Tom B and he was big. But anyways, there's a river called the Tombigbee River. Now, we're going back. Now, this story is really interesting to me because I think there's a lot of facts to it. And then there's a lot of legend to it. And you kind of got to figure out which is what. So in 1908, there was this guy named Norman Stales, and he had a dream. He wanted to build the most beautiful steamboat since the Civil War. And in 1908, that was only 60 years ago, 40 years ago, something like that. So he was like, I'm going to build the steamboats like they used to have. So he got a bunch of investors together. He got this boat, this beautiful, beautiful boat named, and he named it, I thought this was sweet, he named it after his father. So it was called James T. Staple, or James Staple Boat. James T. Staple Palatial Steamboat. I don't know, it was something hoity-toity, but it was definitely named after his dad, James Staple. And he was so proud of it, and he's like, I've built it. I've built this great boat. This is ready to go. But what happened was in 1912, he started to fall into financial distress. They were starting to have money problems. So his creditors took the boat. So it had been in operation, but the creditors took the boat. And he couldn't bear to have his life work, this beautiful piece of machinery that he sweated over for years, with his dad's name on it, taken from him. And in January 1913, so basically a year after he lost the boat, he put a shotgun to his chest, killed himself. Almost immediately, there were sightings of his ghost on the James T. Staple boat. The crew saw him in the boiler room. Enough people saw him. They saw him walking around the boiler room. The crew quit. The crew were like, no way. There's a ghost on this ship. This is a real bad omen. We quit. Another interesting thing that happened was all the rats jumped off the boat. Now, normally that would be a good thing. Normally they wouldn't be like, you know what, that's weird. All the rats jumped off this boat. You should be like, first off, you should be like, I didn't know there were that many rats on this boat. Look at them. They're making they actually are so many rats. It looks like a small island floating down the river. How did we have that many rats on this boat? But again, that was a bad omen. That all the rats jumped off. Again, if I walked into a McDonald's and I saw all the rats leaving, I wouldn't think that was a bad omen. I wouldn't go back to that McDonald's, but I wouldn't go oh, that McDonald's is going to blow up. Spoiler alert. And then, to top it all off, James T. Staple was supposed to make a run, and the run was going to take it past Norman Staple's funeral. And the captain was like, you know what, that's completely disrespectful. I'm not going to sail his boat. Can't we take another route to get to where we're going? I don't want to sail past his funeral. It was a paddle boat. It was a steamboat. It didn't sail, but I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to paddle this boat down the river. And so he got fired. And so the company hired a new crew and a new captain who didn't know about the ghost, didn't know about the rats. People are coming on the boat. They're like, man, this is a clean ship. I haven't seen one rat on it all day long. They get on the boat's sailing, paddling down the river. It gets to where Norman Staple's grave is. The boiler blows up. Whoa, I'm on fire. If only there were some rats here that I could milk and put the fire out. 26 people dead, including the captain. I think the captain was down there. It doesn't matter. They all got just blown up by the force or by the scalding hot water and all sorts of stuff. And the boat sank. And so that's the legend of the James T. Staple boat. What's interesting, so we know what is true, what's 100% true. Norman Staples built the boat. He killed himself. It wasn't named after his father. The crew quit. The captain quit. They got a new crew, a new captain, and the boiler blew up. What we don't know for sure, what's interesting about it, you can say whether or not they saw the ghost. But the part of the story that gets suspect, and it did blow up, but the part of the story suspect is some reports say it blew up 6 miles from the graveyard where Norman Staples was. Some reports say it blew up as it was passing Norman Staples' grave, which is a big difference. I mean, 6 miles is just a faulty boiler. At the site of his grave, you could be like, ooh, like that is spooky. But the fact that we have a 6 mile difference there makes me a little more suspicious of some of the other details in the story. But even at the time, there was a newspaper, the Columbus Commercial, and they, in their article, were like, man, that was really weird. But it's interesting to think how much the story's changed. I'm sure the original report was it blew up 6 miles from his grave, and then over time it's become like right as it passed his grave, which is what I read initially, that it blew up. But I thought it was an interesting story nonetheless. Now, you're thinking, Jason, you promised me ghost boats. You promised me boats that were ghosts. And you just told me a story about a ghost blowing up a boat, which I think is pretty... Oh, and 21 people got injured too, so that's a pretty good attack for a ghost, for an incorporeal spirit, or is it non-corporeal? But anyways, that's a pretty good body count. But anyway, so let's talk about a ghost boat. Now, we're still in Alabama. This story is equally terrifying. It's a Titanic on land, if you will. The Eliza Battle. So now we're back in 1858. So this is way back in time from the James T. Staple riverboat. Riverboat! That's what they're called. Anyway, so Eliza Battle was I'll just call it steamboat. What's the difference? The one with the paddle, right? I think, is that a riverboat and a steamboat? Goes like toot toot, like has like the smoke coming out. I should research this before I do the show, but go steamboat, Eliza Battle, 1858. It had a crew of 45. You had 60 passengers. They're going for a nice leisurely trip down the river. It starts raining. It's already raining, and they're like, oh, coming down the river, playing ragtime music or whatever. And I can't do ragtime music, but anyway, so the boat's coming down the river. And it's raining already, so everyone's kind of inside. And then it keeps raining and raining and raining, and then it starts to flood. And they're like, uh-oh, this isn't good. The temperature drops, and everything turns to sleet and ice. And the people on the boat are like, we just need to keep going, because this is getting really, really bad really, really fast. You have to be inside now. It's freezing cold outside. The whole front bow, the whole sides of the ships, everything, are covered in icicles. The temperature drops so quickly that everything's ice outside. What happens, though, is that the stern catches on fire. I think that's the back of the boat, right? But anyways, one of the sides of it's the bow, port, starboard. Yeah, the stern is the back. So anyways, that part catches on fire. And they were saying that the people on the boat, I'm trying not to laugh, but this would be a sucky thing. The people on the boat had a choice. They could either burn to death or freeze to death. Like, you could either stay back where the fire was and be warm, but eventually burn, or you could go to the front of the boat and just freeze to death, because you weren't prepared for the weather. It's super, super cold out there, and you couldn't jump into the river because you'd freeze. It was just a bad scenario altogether. What's interesting is that the boat, because it's a flood, so the river's over the banks, and the boat starts to go out of the river and begins crashing through the forest. And at this point, a lot of people are like, as bad as this seems, that this boat is just, smashing into trees and getting these huge gaping holes in it, this is our chance. Because before, we could either freeze to death on the boat, burn to death on the back of the boat, jump into the river, or freeze, and people start saying, dude, just jump onto a tree. So as the boat was crashing, this is all real, this is all historical. As the boat was crashing through the trees, people began jumping off the side of the boats and hanging in trees. Overall, 29 people died. And remember, it had about 105 people on the boat, so 29 people died. Some of them burned to death. A lot of them froze to death. And when the rescue crew showed up, they were basically pulling people out of trees. Like, some people grabbed onto the trees, they still froze, but for the most part, when they showed up, they were able to, they were like, what the hell? They see boat wreckage, a fire, a bunch of ice, and then a bunch of dudes up in the trees. Like, and it's not like they were like, hey, what are you doing up there? You're just like rescuing people, but they weren't like questioning them, but you have to wonder, like, the rescue people were probably like, what the hell happened here? Why is a boat in the forest and the people on the boat in the trees? But anyways, and how did they have ladders back then? I wonder here's an interesting question. When did we invent the ladder? Like, at what point in human history? I'm sure it was like Egyptian, like way, way back in the day. Wait, Jacob's ladder was in the Bible, so they're like old things. But I wonder who the first person who said, that's high, I'm going to build a ladder. And don't laugh, because that's actually like hard. Because you don't just build, I wonder what came first actually, stairs or a ladder? Like, which one did it? Well, I guess there's not Jacob's stairs in the Bible. Well, I know they had stairs in the Bible. Anyways, I'll have to figure that out, what came first, staples. I'll have to figure that out, what came first, stairs or ladders. I'm going to bet it was stairs, because you can carve those out of dirt. You can, like, make stairs in a cave. A ladder, you need, like, trees. You need to cut a tree, and then another tree, and then, like, little trees in the middle to climb. Stairs, you just go, I'm just going to move some dirt, and then I'm going to step up, move some of the dirt. Anyways, so the rescue crew, yes, they had ladders and possibly stairs with them. They get everyone out of the tree. To this day, people still say that on a foggy night, you can see the Eliza battle going down the river. A river in Alabama, which I don't remember what the name of it is, but you'll know it because you see a ghost ship. That's creepy enough. The ghost ship going down the river is creepy, but fishermen, other boats in the area have reported not only do they see the ghostly image of the Eliza battle, but they hear the cries and pleas for help of the 29 people who died that night, still stuck on that ghostly steamboat. That always creeps me out. Like, they're stuck in that torment for eternity. So I don't like rivers anyways, so I don't go down them in any type of boat, especially a ghost boat. Wouldn't do it. I'd probably just fall through the bottom. But luckily, I'd fall onto a bunch of escaping rats from some other doomed ship, and I would just go off to the shore. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.